Daniel Sports Central, we go over a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 5 matchup between the Michigan Wolverines and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Two teams in very different positions as we look forward to Week 5. Michigan being a team that is widely considered one of your national favorites, rightfully so. This is a team that is built to win this season. You consider the defense. This is a complete football team here taking on Nebraska. Of course, Nebraska is a team that's just trying to get back into contention. This team hasn't been a very good team in a while. So for Nebraska, massive opportunity to pull a stunner as they take on Michigan. We'll be over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with your team trends. Michigan beat Rutgers last week 31-7. Kind of a slow start in that matchup for the Wolverines. They got it done 4-0 on the season, and this team has been very dominant so far this year. They've won every game by scoring 30 points and allowing their opponents under 10. So, this is clearly a strong defensive team. We knew that heading into the season, that this team is a team that really shines defensively. The offense is great as well, but it hasn't really, this offense hasn't scored more than 35 so far this season, which you'd kind of expect at this point out of a team ranked second in the country. But as the schedule continues to get more competitive, I do think we'll see Michigan's offense start to shine as well. But for Nebraska, beat Louisiana Tech 28-14 last week. This team is now 2-2 on the season. Dropped their first two games of the season and have won two since against Northern Illinois and then Louisiana Tech last week. Games be on Saturday the 30th in Lincoln, Nebraska. Kickoff is 2:30 Central. So Nebraska obviously being the home team here, that is something you want to keep in mind. Nebraska is a strong team at home. They got a strong home field advantage. And a couple of years ago when it was in Lincoln, we saw these two teams and it was close all the way till the very end. Nebraska still being they were 3-9 a couple of years ago, one of the best 3-9 teams I've ever seen. But they were competitive against Michigan a couple of years ago. They can do it again here for sure. Spread's going with Michigan by 18, so the Wolverines are favored by over a couple of touchdowns as you would expect. Over-under's 40, and the FPI is also going Michigan heavily, 88%. Series history, Michigan leads at 7-4. Last time we saw Nebraska beat Michigan was 2013, so it was 10 years ago. And we really haven't seen these two teams play each other too often in recent years, even though the last 3 years these two teams have played each other every year. Stat comparison for this one, Michigan 40th in points per game this season, but this is the top defensive team in the country. They're top ranked in points allowed per game, 5th ranked pass defense, 13th ranked rush defense. This is something everyone knows. You consider Georgia and Michigan, two teams that are really good all around, obviously, but it's defensively really where Michigan and Georgia shine especially. But that doesn't mean you can sleep on this offense, though. J.J. McCarthy's an incredible quarterback. We know that. And obviously this backfield is stacked as well with Blake Corum and then obviously Donovan Edwards. But for Nebraska on the other side, this is a team that is surprisingly one of the top teams in the country in multiple areas. They're 6th in rush yards a game, 2nd ranked rush defense in the country, and they're the 28th ranked defense in points allowed per game this season. So, and we know this as well. Nebraska is a team that is strong defensively. It's just the offense that this team is trying to work out right now. And offensively, this team's got talent for sure. They have been much more impressive the last two games versus how they were the first two games. You consider Heinrich Harburg has been the starter quarterback the past two games. He should remain the starting quarterback of this team. You consider Jeff Sims. He's the other guy, Georgia Tech transfer quarterback who played against Minnesota and then against Colorado. He threw multiple picks in those games. I think 4 picks between those two games, and also fumbled the ball, just couldn't take care of the football. And Heinrich Harburg in the games against Northern Illinois and Louisiana Tech, he has been impressive so far. He hasn't turned over the ball really. He's a strong rusher. He's put up 270 yards of rushing, 2 touchdowns. He's passed for nearly 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks. It's night and day. And you got to consider, it's NIU and Louisiana Tech. And if we see Harburg in this matchup, it's going to be, this is going to be a big step up in comparison to the teams he's been playing the past couple of weeks. But, there is so much more potential in Harburg, though. That is something that I'm seeing in Nebraska right now, and that's something that I think Nebraska sees and Matt Rule sees as well. But for Michigan, this team beat Rutgers 31-7. Also dominant wins over Bowling Green, UNLV, and East Carolina. Obviously for Nebraska, a couple of Power 5 matchups on the road to start the season. Kind of a tough way to start the season. Not a big fan of that, starting off your season with 2 road games. And obviously the Colorado game especially did not go well. But I mean, this team had a genuine chance against Minnesota there in week 1. But your key punch for this one, Michigan, the defense, obviously where this team shines. J.J. McCarthy, this offense. The offensive line, one of the best in the country for sure for Michigan. And that's something that we've seen. I mean, this is a team that tends to start a little bit slow, but in the second half, when this team really can get that rush game going, when they start to wear down the defense, that's really where this team can take off. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was a similar situation and we saw something similar like that happen in this matchup as well. But for Michigan, shutting down Nebraska's offense will be a key factor here, I think. I mean, Nebraska is still a team that's pretty poor offensively. The defense could be something that could keep Nebraska in this matchup, but the offense has been a bit of an issue for Nebraska, and it doesn't help that they lost 2 of their key running backs a couple weeks ago to injuries for the rest of the season. So this is a team that really lacks depth offensively, even more so than at the beginning of the season. So, but for Nebraska, forcing turnovers will be huge. I think if Nebraska has any chance in this matchup, got to get some points on the board from the defense or from special teams. Get like a kick return or a punt return or something. That's what Nebraska needs in this matchup if they want a chance here. I mean, Michigan's defense is that good. It's going to be tough for Nebraska to move the ball at all on this Michigan defense. So for Nebraska, turnovers will be huge. The offense needs to be better. So far, I mean, once again, Harburg should be the starter for this matchup. He is... honestly, if you compare his 2 games versus Jeff Sims' 2 games, night and day. It's not even close. Harburg is the better quarterback from what we've seen so far. So definitely that's an interesting storyline for this one is the Nebraska quarterback situation. But for Nebraska as well, home field advantage is huge for the Huskers. This team is strong at home, kept it close against Michigan a couple of years ago. Obviously beat Michigan and Lincoln. That was a while ago, but they have done it before. So a huge upset chance for Nebraska. And what momentum this could bring to Nebraska's program if they could pull off the upset here or even keep it close. If they can keep it within a score, make it competitive at the end, I feel like that would make all Husker fans happy. But still, obviously a big test for Michigan being 4-0, ranked number 2 in the country. And with that, let's get to the prediction here for Michigan and Nebraska coming up here in week 5 of action. And in the end, I got to go Michigan. 24-10 is my predicted final score. I mean, Nebraska's got a chance here. I think we see a game where this is going to be close at halftime. Maybe like a 10-7 Michigan lead at halftime. It's going to be pretty close and low scoring, I think, especially in the first half. But in the second half, I think Michigan gets a couple of big touchdowns. Maybe they force a turnover, but this is the score if Nebraska can refrain from turnovers as much as possible. Maybe just let one happen. I mean, if Nebraska throws 2 picks, 3 picks, has a couple of fumbles, this game could get ugly quick, I think. We saw that especially in the Colorado game for Nebraska, where they had a couple of turnovers. They were in the game until the turnovers happened, and then things got out of hand. But I think Nebraska being at home as well does help this team, and I think the offense for the Huskers is just not quite good enough yet to win this matchup. But I think they keep it reasonable within 14. But I'm going to say 75% towards Michigan. Michigan is matched up well in this matchup. Nebraska's offense has been less than impressive, and Michigan's got probably the best defense in the country. So you consider that. I'd say the under for this matchup, as well as Nebraska covering the spread, which is currently 18 points towards Michigan. But with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, your score predictions and all of that. Let me know in the comments, and stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.